I was so naive back then, but on the other way, I've never seen myself put into a category. I've always been very active. I was playing football as well with my best friends when I was a kid. I never thought that football was something that girls couldn't do. I didn't care. I just did what I loved doing. With my career, it was the same. I didn't even think for a moment that it was a male dominated world. I guess that was my strong point, my best asset in a way.
This is Gloneration podcast, conversations around the new generation of global talents and brands. Ciao, I'm your host, Simona Lodolo. Welcome to the second season of Gloneration, and I'm ready to dive deep with you on the generation that is shaping the future of culture, economics, and society. Today, with me from London, Silvia Schweiger, Associate Director, Executive Marketing and Commercial at RTR Sports Marketing Ltd. Ciao Silvia.
Ciao, thank you for having me.
From a sunny London, you said.
From a sunny London. I'm so blessed today.
Silvia, this is the first time I meet you in person. I'm super curious because I've been following you for months in your incredible...
I can see you sometimes.
I'm learning so much from you. You have been able to position yourself as a professional in motorsports, which is an environment that is usually considered a male territory.
Yeah.
And how did you get this courage and career plan?
That's a great question, Simona. Honestly, it's been 24 years already, so quite a long time ago. It's a question I get asked very often. Why did you start a career in motorsports? Everyone think that it's because I'm passionate about motorsport, that being Italian, motorsport is part of our DNA. In reality, when I started, I was more interested in marketing. I loved marketing. I still love marketing. I consider myself as a marketing professional. I went to uni and I wasn't very clear about what to do in my future. Back then, marketing was a thing, but it wasn't that big as it is today, right? I had a friend, she was attending this postgraduate master in marketing and communication in Milan. And I went through the program. It was interesting. And so I just decided to join this 1 year course. And then I found out about sponsorship. Sponsorship in general, it was not about motorsport. You know, being Italian football, it's big in Italy as well as motorsport. My teacher back then was mainly referring about football as, you know, the best platform to invest in sponsorship. It sounded very interesting, and I've always been passionate about sport per se. I've always been very active as a kid, as a girl. I loved sports. I grew up on a small village on the Dolomites, and skiing and, you know, living outdoor was the only thing actually we could do as kids. That was amazing till you are a teenager. Afterwards, it's a bit boring. My dad has always been great with me in following my energy. I used to ski, I played football, tennis. Every sport was something I was interested in actively. So I thought that maybe marketing and sport, for the first time, I saw them under the same umbrella in a way. And I thought, oh, that this is amazing. I can be a marketer and be involved in sport as well. That's what I love. It wasn't that common back then, honestly, but I didn't even think about being a woman, a girl at that time in motorsports. Then I came in touch with this agency in Bologna. They were motorsports focused. I just applied, and that's how it started.
But I guess you were almost the only woman, weren't you?
Yeah, probably. I was so naive back then, but on the other way, I've never seen myself put into a category in a way. I've always been very active. I was playing football as well with my best friends when I was a kid. I never thought that football was something that girls couldn't do. I didn't care. I just did what I loved doing. With my career, it was the same. I didn't even think for a moment that it was a male dominated world. I guess that was my strong point, my best asset in a way, because I've never considered myself different. I was just, a young girl learning. I just tried to understand what was the job and how to learn as much as possible. Of course, the majority of people around me were men, but I've never felt different. I never felt the woman in the room. I was the woman in the room.
Yes.
I was most of the times the woman in the room, but I was so sure about myself and so conscious about myself, my potential. I've always been very determined, I have to say, in a good way. I've never felt scared about doing or trying something. If you ask this question to my mom, she would reply, oh my gosh, she was never scared about anything. I was just
Wow.
jumping into things without any doubt. That was my approach. And I think that that approach saved me in a way and made me the person and the professional I'm today.
Very nice story, because actually, yes, this fear sometimes as a woman, and also not just sports,
Yeah.
motorsports, football, some other areas. Sometimes being a woman can be scared, but if you don't overthink, as you said, and you just go confident that you know your stuff, and what you don't know you can learn. I think it's a great it's a great approach. What do you wish you knew when you started this global adventure?
That it would have been tough. I basically, I've always been a kind of independent professional. I was working in an agency, but I work as a commercial professional, so directly with my clients. And again, I was never scared of being, I think that, and maybe you find it yourself in your career. I think there are two types of professionals. The type A, that you need to be under the protection of a big brand. You need corporate, you need that security, that safe space with your badge and your big logo, around your back that is supporting you, and the independent professional that is just, going out by or themselves, trying their best independently. And I was the type B. I've always felt that I could do my job as an independent professional within an agency and be rewarded by the deals that I was getting and I was closing for the agency. Again, I was never scared. I never doubted myself of being able or not to do it. I just went out and did it. But maybe I was naive in a way that everything was possible to me. But it was hard. I mean, after 20 years, it's been a very hard career and tough path. Sometimes I felt like I should have gone and work in a secure, safe, you are Italian, so you know that families think about their daughters behind the desk in a bank or in a
8 hours
state.
top. It's not a
Exactly, eight
part-time
hours
job.
stop, and then you go back home and you forget about the work for the rest of your day. Never been like that for me. I don't even know how many hours. I didn't even count the
No
hours,
count.
honestly. Uh,
Better not to count.
it's better not to count. I don't even know when I have a free weekend, because races are during the weekend. So probably in a part of my career, especially when I became a mom, that was hard. Of course, I had my agency backing me, but I felt this weight on my shoulder that I had to go back to work as soon as possible. I wanted to do it. Being a woman, it's different. When I wanted to have a kid and I had a kid, I wanted to be home with him. I didn't want to be as much as I was working before, traveling, going away as I was used to do. I wanted to be more at home with him, seeing him growing. Your perspective changes, right? You become another person. So
Yes,
that's something I wasn't see coming when I was, so young, but it's normal. You are not in that space in your mind. You are just thinking about, your career, developing skills and getting better, closing clients and traveling, while in reality we have different stages within our career.
Gloneration, as you know, it's something that is global careers because people move. You're based in London, but I think you live everywhere
Yeah,
because you travel a lot and so on. Can you tell me a couple of advantages and disadvantages of this global
life.
reality life that
Yeah,
you
yeah, I honestly love it. I'm traveling less now. I remember clearly in my head. My son was very, very small and he was at home with the childminder, and I was at a race. It was the first race. I left him alone and I traveled for a race, and I felt so bad. I was in this amazing hotel working with a big client, and I felt so bad. I felt that I didn't, I was in the wrong place. I had to go back home. And I remember I just, did the first day, set everything up with my team, and then called the cab in the middle of nowhere at the circuit. And I asked him to take me back home in Bologna, where I used to live. And from that very moment, I decided not to say yes to everything, but to decide where to go and where not to go. I decided to prioritize. So I started to travel less and less. And then we moved to London. It was just because we wanted to change and we felt that Italy was not the best place for us in a specific moment of our career. And I love it. I wrote a post a couple of days ago because I got the British citizenship. So my roots are very deep, are really strong. I know where I come from. I'm a proud Italian. I love my country. I know, the positives and the negatives of being Italian. But now here, I feel like I'm even a better Italian, a better person. I'm more rounded. I learn so much about other cultures. I've got friends from everywhere. And London in particular, it's a very unique city. You get in touch with so many different people, cultures, languages, foods, whatever. You learn something new every single day. I also think I'm a better professional. I can understand the small nuances and the differences of even how to write an email or speak with someone. We Italians, we are so direct, so straightforward. We can be a thing sometimes. You have to learn to adjust your communication, to adjust the way you approach to people. They're not all the same, of course, and not everyone's likes to be touched or to be hugged or to be kissed. And I learn, even how to communicate better with other cultures. And we are so used to our own culture, but there is so much more in the world to discover and to learn. So every time I go back to Italy, I feel like I don't belong anymore in a way. I feel so different and I'm a different person as well.
brands that are approaching motorsports sponsorship are coming from everywhere now. How do you prepare for a global pitch or a client from another totally different part of the world who is approaching the industry for the
Yeah.
first time?
I give you some examples. I have a client now. They are a global company. When we strategize and we think about activation in each race or in each country, you have a global concept that works for the brand globally. And then the way you activate in Italy is different from the way you activate in Argentina or in UK, because the way you engage or the way they live an event. Americans, for example, and you know better than me, they spend hours and hours at sport events. They want to live the
They do.
experience. While Italians, if they go to a football match, they go there 5 minutes before the match starts and they leave 10 minutes before the end of the match. So we have a global concept, and then we adjust accordingly to the country we are activating the concept.
But
So
that's super tough.
it's super tough. It's super interesting. Even the way we, for example, with this specific client we are working now, the way we select influencers is different. We had some influencers to the GP race in Argentina, the MotoGP race. Their profile is definitely different from the one that we will have in the UK. Completely different under the same brand. So it really shows you how cultures are different even within the same industry and the same brand. In this case, I feel that I'm maybe a more rounded professional rather than someone that has just lived, for all his life in a country. Because with the experience, I know the differences between country to country, and it's an asset I have. It's something I can provide to my clients, and it's not so easy. For example, here in the UK, people communicate. You never know the real meaning of what they are saying. So you have to read in between the lines. For us as Italians, it's something you have to learn because we are so direct when we complain or when we are not happy about something. So you have to adjust accordingly. Sometimes it's hard with some of the countries, or for example, when they don't come back with an answer. I don't understand if it is just because they are ghosting you or sometimes they just don't want to say no. I discovered that. I found out that some cultures, they are not happy to say no. So they try to avoid, the confrontation, and they just disappear. I didn't know that. I just, learn it on my skin. Living abroad, you understand more and you get better.
At in every little step of your job, you have to be super careful, super sensitive, prepared, because it's not just a matter of selling a sponsorship package or adapting it. No, you really need to sometimes coach the client on these differences.
There is a lot of education behind the scene, a lot of it. And most of the time, I find myself in between the brand I work for and the teams or drivers or riders they are sponsoring. My role is to facilitate the communication and making them understand each other when sometimes it's difficult. I have many Spanish clients and they don't speak English. So when you are sponsoring a team and they just speak English, it's a problem. You have to, translate, and not just, the language, but the culture as well. Spanish are like us, they are super direct. I have a client and they are so direct on their feedback, sometimes even too brutal for a British. It's impossible to get messages like that. While for Italians and Spanish, they are kind of normal because we are very animated. We are, let's say, passionate. So it's hard to balance and try to make them understand each other on so many different levels. And it's also interesting, of course.
It's a tough job. I don't
Yeah,
envy you. Marketing is already complicated by
I
itself.
know.
With these further layers, I don't envy you.
I know, but you know what? We all say that we have to be global, we want international brands, etc. But then you have to be able to understand how to deliver and how to understand as well the different countries and territories. It's a challenge, but it's also the interesting part. I've been doing this job for more than 20 years. But there's not a single day I do the same thing because brands are all different. I work in so many different industries that it's a learning process. Name whatever industry, I work with them. So, and that's the interesting part.
I'm very curious. Is it tougher to approach new brands or to find something new for maybe brands that you are consulting?
In marketing, retaining a brand, a client is always the best thing to do because, the energy you spend in getting a new one, I don't know that there is a number how much harder it is. But yeah, still, I think that gaining a new or closing a new client is always the most difficult part. We work with clients for more than 10 years. So it's not something that it's so common, but it's like a marriage in a way. You have to work to keep the relation going and the partnership delivering. They are tough both ways.
I've seen in your videos that different industries are also approaching. So is there an industry that maybe is never worked with you or in general sponsored motorsport and you think could be a good option?
Yeah, I was quite vocal, let's say, about female brands in motorsports. I posted a lot about this because, when you think about motorsports, the first idea is that it's a male dominated, that the target and the audience is mostly men. It was true. It's changing now. So there are more and more women watching and supporting sport in general and motorsport in particular. So we are there watching and supporting motorsport, and there are not many brands or enough brands resonating with us. I still watch MotoGP or Formula One or Formula E. Most of the brands are speaking with a male audience. So I've always been vocal about brands to be bolder, to look at data, because it's not just because I think that women are there. I know that women are there watching and supporting and buying merchandise, buying tickets, buying the
We love
TV.
shopping more than men.
Exactly. We do shop more than men. So every time I go to the circuit, I buy something for my nephews, for my son, etc. You can tell that women are buying. So I'm trying via my videos and posts to tell more about the numbers, about the data, and about the women that are there that would love to have more female brands in mainstream Formula One, not just sponsoring some of the girls that are driving. You can tell that some brands are coming. The first ones are always the pioneer, and then you have the follower coming in a second wave. I would love personally to seal a deal with a brand resonating with a female audience, because it would be just great because of what I'm doing. I don't consider myself a content creator, but I'm actually
You are doing.
a content creator. So just for, all the time I spend talking about it, would be great to be
Yeah.
rewarded.
And as you said, if you are the first one approaching a new
You get
era,
all the attention.
honestly, I've been working for fashion, luxury, lifestyle brands for many years, and it's not easy to find something different, So there is definitely this is definitely a great opportunity.
Yeah, and now I'm sure you've seen it with Louis Vuitton coming in and all
Yes.
the brands of the group. There is more attention, and usually, when a big brand, a famous brand like them is investing in something, it means it works. So the others will come. Yeah.
They will come. They will come. Almost 1 year ago, you started to be very active on LinkedIn. And in January 2025, you were featured by LinkedIn News Europe. Can you share a little bit about this journey? Because you were already very busy.
Yeah, and it's great that you are mentioning this, because every day people DMs me saying, "But who is supporting you in producing your content?" It's just me and myself. It goes on top of everything else. But I had a mission in my mind. There is this amazing woman in the US, Mel Robbins. I started following her a couple of years ago. She's an advocate of trying to lift yourself up, right? Even especially starting from the morning. So in the morning, I wake myself up and I go in front of the mirror and I try to give myself a high five just to start the day, with energy. There was a time I was complaining with myself about not finding good content about my industry, not being happy about what I was reading about women in motorsport. So instead of talking about that with myself in front of the mirror, I said, okay, if this makes me suffer and I'm not happy with it, I need to do something. I think I've gained a lot of experience and expertise in my career. I have a voice. I think my voice could matter. I was a bit scared, of course. I wanted to tell more about my job, about my career, about motorsports, about the misconceptions that you read about motorsports. And the only way I thought it was possible was via LinkedIn. And I just started. It was a big leap into an uncomfortable zone. Everyone think that I was a natural,
You
but
are.
I was
Definitely
not
you
at all.
are.
I didn't know what to write. I didn't know how to write. I just started. It like everything. When I decide to do something, I just jump on it.
In 1 year, gaining this recognition is quite a thing.
I think that a common trait of my personality and my career, I'm very consistent in everything I do. When I want something, I go for it. So I had a plan. I wanted to say something in a specific way. So I just decided to do it and to be there consistently. So many people ask me, how do you do it? How do you juggle
Exactly.
everything? I don't even think about it, honestly. I have my routine. I have a daily schedules, I cannot lie, where everything is in, from my training for the marathon to my work, my private life. It's hard to make everything work. It's just, showing up. I think showing up every day is the secret for everything, from a marathon to LinkedIn to your work to yourself as a partner, as a mom, as a friend, or whatever, without overthinking too much. I just do what I think it's good.
That's a great advice. If you have to define using one word, synthesize your global adventure, what would it be? In Italian or in Spanish, in whatever language you want?
I would say probably consistency and adaptability as well. Being able to adapt to so many different brands, clients, markets, countries, and people. To be an expat is not easy at all. You have to change so many things. You will question yourself every single day. If you are not adaptable, you're going to struggle every day. While if you are adaptable and you think that every day is a step towards a better version of the day before, you will progress. I'm always for progress rather than, perfection. I'm a perfectionist, but I'm trying to embrace the process and the journey. So probably adaptability and consistency. So 2 words.
And is there an advice or suggestions that your parents gave you at the beginning of this global journey?
This is an interesting question, because if I think about, for example, my mom, we are so different. I was super active, and she was always scared about me doing something crazy. She was always trying to calm me and try to not stop me, but she was always a bit afraid of what I was doing. My dad, he's always been very supportive, and yeah, he's always been supporting, and he never treated me like, I was too active. He was always embracing my energy to do stuff together. And then my mom-in-law, she was amazing. She was always so very supporting in saying to me, go and give it a go. If you have a bad day, go out and have a brisk walk, and you will see that everything will be different when you are back. They've
Nice.
always been very supportive. Yeah.
Is there a pilot that is your favorite in the past, and one, if you can say, which is the one of the future?
So I have my favorite driver, Formula One driver, has always been Senna, Ayrton Senna. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, he was already the legendary driver. I grew up with this image of Ayrton, so I would say him. Yeah, I would stick with him.
Okay. So the Gloneration Masterclass, among the many things that you do, you are also a lecturer in motorsport marketing and sponsorship at the 24 hours business school, 24 ore business school. Let's suppose we start a masterclass on how to become a global talent and manage a sports brand, marketing brand. As a professor, what would you teach? One subject.
As a global expert, you say?
Yes, because Gloneration is the new generation of global talent. You are part of it. I'm doing this also for the new generation, so for the young talents that will have to and start their career in a global way.
Something I would have taught myself as well, to be patient. Yeah, especially now in the new generation with social media, they are so used to have straight answers, and everything is so fast paced, and you just go on your phone and you have answer for everything, right? When we were younger, it was not the case. So they want everything to be ready when they need it, and it doesn't work like that. You have to be patient and build up whatever you are doing, and it's something I had to train to myself as well, because sometimes I'm impatient. So to get better at it would be great.
And do you have a trick? Do you have a technique that you can teach the students?
Yeah, I would embrace something that it's out of your comfort zone. So to give you an example, this is crazy, but a couple of years ago, I started baking cookies. I love cooking. I can bake just some basic banana bread, a couple of ciambellones and stuff. I was so intrigued by it, because you have to be patient. You have to follow a recipe and go through, a specific rule of creating this amazing piece of biscuit. I went to a class just around the corner. I learned how to do it and spent hours doing it. It was a way for me to practice my and being patient, more patient. Because when I need to relax myself or to decompress, I do something physical. So I go for a run, I go to the gym, I'm sporty, so I do sport. So I had to find something that was out of my comfort zone. And I did that.
That's very interesting as well. Also for me, I'm not a good cook, so I will be struggling, but I'll try.
You can test yourself.
Now our Gloneration game. So I will mention some areas or skills, and you need to define yourself either global or local. And for local, you can also mention either Italian or British, American, or whatever you feel it works for you. For example, food, global or local?
Global.
Education, global or local?
Tricky one. I would start local and then go global.
Sport,
Global.
creativity,
Global.
family,
Local. No, yeah, local in a way, but oh my God, this is another tricky one. Global and local.
glocal. It's
Global.
also a
Yeah.
word. Great. Arts and culture,
So if I think about art and culture, I think about Italy. I mean, it's the country of art and culture. So Italy.
beauty or appearance,
Global.
design,
Italy, but I love Northern Europe as well.
music,
Global.
movies,
Global.
holidays or destinations,
Global.
time management,
Who? Global.
problem solving,
Italy. But we are so good in solving problems. I mean, living the and working in Italy, you are used to solve so many issues and so many problems that when you move
No
in a
budget.
country. Exactly. When everything works, it's just unbelievable.
That's a big advantage that we have.
Yeah, it is a big advantage. And I always say to my son, remember, when they say no to you as an answer, no doesn't exist. In Italy, no doesn't exist. There is always a way. You just have to figure it out, find a way. While here, when they say, oh no, that's not possible, you just think, okay, that's not possible. In Italy, of course it's possible. You find a way.
Yes, you're right. Empathy, global or local?
Italy.
Emotional intelligence?
Ooh, I would say Italy.
Leadership style?
Global.
Strategic thinking?
Global.
Last, team management?
I would say global.
One thing which is new from this second edition, I ask our followers to share some questions, and I have one. Of course, they didn't know who's on the other side, who's the guest, but I pick one for you. Talk to 20 years old Silvia. What would you tell her?
I think I wrote a post about that. I don't know.
Your son, for example.
I would say to my son that he needs to understand what he loves and he can achieve whatever he likes if he really wants to.
I think this is also something that pilots and drivers have.
Yeah.
Somehow, no, you are symbiotic with the...
motorsport is so challenging. It's such a challenging industry because every team is there to win and to succeed. Every single second counts, even a millisecond counts. So when you are so used to work in such an industry, you become very competitive as well, and the standards are so high, and even the mindset, it's a very particular one. So any driver would never question himself or them or herself. They would go for the win, and if they get third, they are not happy. So it's just something, there's nothing to celebrate. The mindset has to be always positive. I'm a true believer in positive energy. Energy is contagious, so try to be around positive people, not the Dracula of positivity, but the positivity spreaders.
Lovely. This, I really love it. Last questions, the very, very last. What's next for you, Silvia?
So easy, my marathon. It's next. That's a big, big challenge. It's just around the corner. I started feeling the miles on my legs and on my mind. It's tough, but I'm also running for a charity. I feel I have this goal. It's not just about me, but it's about the families I'm supporting with my fundraising. I'm running for a bigger purpose. I'm a bit anxious about the challenge, and I know that with the support of everyone, I will make it to the finishing. It's a great way to remind myself how lucky I am. My son is in good health and we are all healthy, and there are so many families struggling, so I'm happy to run for that.
That's such a great message. Silvia, you have been super inspiring. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Simona. I'm always so not worried, but I didn't record too many podcasts, but I was happy to do it with you, and so thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. No, I loved it, and I'm sure that everyone listening is feeling the same. So please keep following us, keep liking our podcast, and if you have a friend who is thinking about a career in motorsport, share the episode. Thank you so much, Silvia, for being here. Good luck for your marathon. With everyone else, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.